Hi guys, welcome to the Awakening Energy in this distance energy healing session. It's Kundalini Activation energy. You can call it Reiki if you wish. If you're ready, just take a few deep breaths. We can begin this active meditation just by connecting to the energy. Just reach out. Just connect. Today, whilst you're receiving this distance energy healing, I'm going to discuss one of the most important parts in all spiritual teachings and all spiritual cultures, and that is the letting go of mind. And the letting go of mind, combined with what we call the dark night of the soul. You'll find many people that follow Indian gurus will say to you, if you do Shaktipat, if you open your awakening, if you awaken your Kundalini without a guru, then it will destroy your life, you will crumble to pieces, you will blah, 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 blah. But of course, in Western psychology, we know this being called the dark night of the soul. We can also call this as an intense anxiety that we go through. It is perhaps the last step of our ego trying to desperately cling on to its safe little bubble, or that's the way it perceives it, keeping you safe, trying to keep you trapped in your matrix, to give it a name. And of course, this is a very difficult stage to get through. And this is why we say there are dangers and there are processes when you are awakening your Kundalini. Because it is very intense and you're going to go through steps and the ups and downs. And you say, oh, this is the dark night of the soul. This is the dark night of the soul. This is the dark night of the soul. And I have to say, I've been through it many times. And every time it hits you, you're like, this is the dark night of the soul. Okay. Let's just get through it. But until you actually get to a state of intense anxiety that we can attribute to many different factors. But at the end of the day, it's all about control. Now, religions talk about have faith, have faith. It's not about faith. It's not about belief in some imaginary humanoid thing that controls every thought and action of every single thing in the entire universe. It is about surrendering your ego, getting past duality, moving through polarity, surrendering and giving up and letting go. The voice of your controller within your head. And it'll fight you, and it will create anxiety, and it will create a dark night of the soul. As I said, all spiritual teachings say there is this process you must go through. Perhaps you don't go through it once. Perhaps you have to go through it time and time and time again, and keep clearing, keep clearing, keep clearing. When I get to the end of it, I'll let you know. But I keep having them, and each time they're more intense. But we have to recognize them. We have to recognize that it is a question of control. Someone made a comment the other day on my video of talking about releasing anxiety. And they said, oh, it's other people that cause anxiety, so I just left other people. And of course, this makes sense. Look at the Buddhist monks, why they moved into monasteries in the mountains. Because these problems are caused by other people, by situations. The most dangerous part of driving is other people. The most dangerous part of skiing is other people. But yet Taoism teaches us to be a true Taoist, you must learn to live the way of the Tao whilst living in the city. Otherwise, it's just escapism from people. You're not surrendering. If you go to a Buddhist temple high in the mountains and live there, you're not surrendering and giving up that control. You are controlling your environment. You must surrender to the environment. Otherwise, you never free yourself dualistically from polarity, because as soon as that person, that monk, goes back into the city, they're still going to be confronted with the dualistic way, the push and the pull. And therefore, it's not about faith. Nothing is about faith. But it is about surrendering your mind. Surrendering the subconscious, your programming, to not be affected by these things. And when they come up, knowing how to deal with them. There are difficult paths to follow. This is not an easy path to follow. You must constantly be surrendering to all the modern philosophers, the ancient philosophers, the spiritual teachers. They've all said the same thing in one way or another. But they've all said the same thing. Free your mind. If you are trying to control, then you're not free. You're still connected. So we just want to be releasing and releasing and releasing and releasing. When it comes to feelings, any feelings of stress, any feelings of anxiety, it's just releasing them, releasing them, releasing them. And then, of course, when we get to the bigger stages, like the dark night of the soul, we will be prepared to be releasing and releasing and releasing. Obviously, when we get to these stages, we can find spiritual healers, energy healers, to help us release. We can use breath work and pranayamas to help us release. A clean diet will help us release. Exercise will help us release these energies meditation too. So I haven't set it up until now. But today the energy that I am sending is not an active energy, I'm not pushing it. This is a passive distance energy healing. It's just turned on type of thing and flowing how it wishes to flow. Completely passive. There are two ways for Shaktipat, for Kundalini Activation energy, for pranic energy to flow. That's just passively, i.e., the medium of the energy is an antenna, and then the end. We could call it an antenna, or it doesn't matter. But just connects, and then everything else is affected around by transference. Or there's the active energy where it's actually focusing. You feel the difference there? Focusing the energy. Technically, the active is more powerful from the logical point of view. But energy isn't logical. Sometimes the passive is way more powerful than the active. Sometimes not, because it doesn't need to be. But this energy does have a certain intelligence of its own. This is how in sessions, if you've seen any of the clips I have, you will see some people doing this energy and they're whatever over the people. I'm not criticizing that. Astral surgery is a real thing. You will see some people are very connected to the client, to the patient. Very connected to their energy, opening their chakras. And you'll see other people, they're just doing their own thing. Their ego thinks they're doing something for that person. Yes, they're making the person move because there's such a high stimuli of energy, but they're not really connected. They're not really helping that person. But as I was saying, that is why I can just sit here, as I am now, get my hands up. My hands are down on my knees. Just sending the energy. We're not sending the energy, just being open to the energy, as this one is passive. And letting the energy doing its thing, controlling the energy of the space. I'm not connecting to you here, you're connecting to me. That's why I say connect to the energy at the beginning. And this is why it can be very, very different. And when you do this, and I'm not trying to interpret and control the energy of the other, the energy gets to do its own thing, passive. If the energy gets to do its own thing, it will go in order. It might not be what the person wishes to receive first. And this is the difference. If you have a client come in and they say, I want to work with this, well, obviously you've got to do it actively. But if it's just healing, then passively, it's going to take the thing that needs the most work, not what the client wants. But it will get and cover everything eventually. passive versus active. So I hope these 2 little bits of information will help you in your spiritual growth, on your spiritual journey. And I hope the energy that is being sent to you passively is helping you to clear and grow, preparing for a Kundalini awakening. Or perhaps you're a person who has your Kundalini already awakened, and it's just helping you connect and vibe. Namaste.